was gonna come here and show y'all how to finish off the competition. How to finish off the competition who's trying to have a reset. Ain't no resets. It is finished. Ain't no more, ain't no reset, ain't no resets. So I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. 2020 was full of confusion. 2020 was full of chaos. But we come from the camp that's not the author of confusion. We're from a camp that does everything decently and in order. And our camp says, don't worry about what you see in the light. Our camp says, what's done in the dark must be brought to the light. We have been trained to ignore the fake facade that you see on the surface. Because we know we live in the times where our enemies will impersonate the angels of light. So we're told to have nothing to do with the worthless deeds of darkness, but expose them. What's done in the dark shall be brought to the light. So our first fruit economy, our economy is based off of being first. If you have to impersonate something, then obviously you're not first. If you have to impersonate something and fake to be something that you're not actually, then you're not first. You're not original. And if you're not a first, and if you're not original, if you're not the root, history tells us you're simply trying to avoid the inevitable. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 2020 is a desperate attempt. You could look on the Western civilization of Europe, same way you look on the Aztecs and the Incas. The Greeks and the Romans have been pushing reset after reset after reset. The Greeks and the Romans were supposed to be extinct years ago for impersonating, for being fake. But there's one reason that they've been able to push a reset. And this time in this last generation, we're going to finish the work. No more reset. No more reset. It is finished. So this is who we talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, as patron of the Samaritans for more than 20 years now, I particularly wanted to mark this year's Volunteers Week by sending my warmest possible thanks to all those who dedicate their time helping others.
So he's supposed to be a patron saint of the Samaritans. Notice, this is supposed to be the fake Prince Charles. When the Queen of England dies, soon and very soon, understand that this is the next fake royal that's going to claim to sit on the throne in England. And so I'm just simply going to show you that everything that they claim across that pond, everything that they've done, it's been at your expense. And this right now, this is the stand where we no longer are allowing our people to lay down. We no longer are allowing our people to be exploited. We're no longer going to allow, and not in our generation, not on our watch, their fake claims to the monopoly and their fake claims to lands all over the world. And the only way that you can reclaim that which has been taken from you is by returning yourself to first fruit status, first and the last fruit status. I'm going to show you what it is. But everything that he claims to be, he claims he's the Samaritan. That has a very specific meaning. And he just stated he is the patron saint of the Samaritans.
Every year, Samaritans volunteers spend more than 1 million hours responding to calls for help. They do all this in the strictest confidence, and they listen always without judgment. Now, more than ever, it is so important that we continue to support each other. So this brings my special gratitude to every Samaritan's volunteer for all you have done and are doing. It really does make the most incredible difference to so many lives. Thank you.
What I need y'all to know is these people speak in code, and they're always speaking to an exclusive group that never includes you or our people. And the code that they speak is racism. Because when they got you distracted by the wrong race, you can't finish the race. They got you distracted by race, and you're commanded to finish the race. The race is not given to the swift or to the strong, but to he who endures to the end will get the crown. They're trying to get you to be disqualified by never finishing the race. And when they get you to be disqualified, then they hit a reset. Once again, I told you, The Greeks and the Romans are like the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans, wiped from the face of the earth because they're not first. And when you do the unnatural instead of do the supernatural, which is what being first fruit is, supernatural. Human beings are not supernatural. These individuals, they show you their inhumanity. They are humans who practice inhumanity. I'm going to let you hear him talk about a reset. Watch this. Listen, listen.
We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries, investing in nature as the true engine of our economy.
The current global crisis has disrupted every aspect of our lives, but it has also presented us with an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to reset and accelerate efforts to improve the state of our world.
Changing our current trajectory will require bold and imaginative action, together with determination and decisive leadership. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model, putting people and planet at the heart of global value creation. If there is one critical lesson we have to learn from this crisis, we need to put nature at the heart of how we operate. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. We need nothing short of a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace. We simply cannot waste any more time. The only limit is our willingness to act. And the time to act is now.
So they have a nerve. They're asking you for they're asking you to put your trust. They're asking you to double down with your trust in them as the head and you still as the tail in the system that they have claimed and ran into the ground all over the world. This is the British crown, the same British crown that I'm going to show you. Came here and claimed your ancestors' lands, tried to erase people of color, And they are the ones who introduced the new colony that they created called Africa. They have used the colony called Africans. They have used the pagans from that colony who also practice unnatural human inhumanity. This is the same Prince Charles of Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth I, King James of the King James Bible. This is the same family that sent pirate after pirate after pirate to the Caribbean, to New York, to Virginia, to Pennsylvania. Virginia is an English colony. Maryland is an English colony. Pennsylvania is an English colony. Please stop allowing these people to play with you. And now, when they're about to be wiped off the face of the earth again, the Dark Ages in Europe was a reset where they said instead of us paying for the unnatural consequences that we lived out on our continent when we were by ourselves, they waged war against each other and destroyed each other. The British and the French and the Scottish and they waged war, civil war, civil war, civil war. The Dutch, the Swiss, all of them European nations died of plague. Then, in order for their population to rebound, they came over here, claimed there wasn't nobody here. Intermingle with our ancestors. Then return to the practices of the Dark Ages of causing civil war and unrest. Set up a European parliament, a British parliament in Washington, D.C., that is still there to this day, and ushered in the Dark Ages again. 2020 is proof you're on the verge of the Dark Ages. And you got a choice. You gonna let them reset history again? How did they reset history from the Dark Ages? They did the Industrial Revolution on y'all. They came over here and they did slavery. Their Dark Ages lasted up to 1798. 1800s, they went right into the Industrial Revolution. They are trying to do a digital a digital revolution. This is what this reset is about. And I'm here to tell y'all, I'm here to tell y'all and reintroduce you to the economy that these queens have inherited. That even in their European schools, in the Oxford, in their top university called Oxford, they have a definition about royals. And in their greatest university, they have a definition about these queens. It's called heir apparent. An heir, the apparent heir, that when the world sees it, the whole world knows that there is no other heir besides the heir apparent. The definition of the heir apparent says it's an heir that cannot be replaced even by birth of another. The heir apparent will assume the throne and reign. No other can challenge the throne of the heir apparent. Now, sometimes they have another word called the presumptive heir. The British know the throne and the fantasy that you've allowed them to live is fake. Because in their university, they have a definition called the presumptive heir. And the presumptive heir says the presumptive heir can be displaced by the true apparent heir with the greater birthright. First fruits. First and the last, heir apparent. But then they talk about, yo, we want to reset as the presumptive heir. Do you know what they had to do to you? A coup d'etat, a rebellion, a revolution. When they know that you are the heir apparent, the European has said, okay, we're going to take by force that which we can't claim by birth. It's called a coup, a revolution, a rebellion. And you got to know that they went down to Egypt. Greeks and Romans went down to Egypt. Europeans went down into West Africa to Mali, and they got human beings who practice inhumanity to join them in their coup, their rebellion. Our heir apparent birthright has a first fruit, has a first and a last. It's a 1-2 punch. It's a 1-2 punch. First son, second son. First daughter, second daughter. Then any other children after that, they fall under the blessing of the first. The second son or the second daughter is simply supposed, you got to have two witnesses. It's proof for it to be everlasting and binding and sovereign. You got to have two. Got to have proof. Got to touch and agree. The heir apparent has to have a matching heir up there. The heir apparent heir up there. First and the last, the beginning and the ending, the alpha and the omega. And every other sibling or every other fruit that comes after models the supernatural model of the first. The last is simply the testimony, the witness, the proof. But the thing about them is they have no proof. They have no proof. They can't produce first fruit. They can't create. They can't dominate. They have to impersonate. They have to fake like they royal, fake like they successful, fake like they empowered. They have to deceive. They have to manipulate. They have to use propaganda. They have to lie. They have to cheat. The thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. These are all of the things that they've done. These are all of the things that makes them unable to win the race. So they have to stoop to getting you to be caught up in racism. So you're not moving. As long as you're not moving, they can hit the reset button, and they can keep hitting the reset button and keep you stuck and stagnant. Let me show you something else. Let me show you 2020. Let me show you 2020 wasn't a coincidence. Let me show you 2020 was planned. And when I show you 2020 was planned, that just means that they got a playbook. So if they got a playbook,
Ladies and gentlemen,
if they have a playbook, you're supposed to have a playbook. If you're in competition and your competitor is on offense, then you're supposed to be on defense. And when you go on offense, then your competitor's going to try and stop you from finishing the race, and they're going to go on defense. So if you're going from offense to defense, that means you got to have a organized plan. Once again, they want you to get caught up in racism, because when you get caught up in their version of racism, they tell you you don't have no history. You don't come from nowhere. You've been enslaved to them the whole time. So because you are a slave to them, then they have to be the ones to lead in the reset, in the new economy that they building, in the new plans that they have for the world's resources. You can't be the head because you are slave to them. So let's look at the world that they created, the world they've tried to create. Once again, remember, this is Prince Charles. And I'm telling you, we looking to recruit individuals to join us in being first responders. Because in 2021, we got a slogan: just be I.T.B, supernatural people. Just be I.T.B, supernatural people. I.T.B stands for investors in Tata Seti's beautiful world. Investors in Tata Seti. Just be I.T.B, supernatural peak. Not human, Supernatural. They can't compete with supernatural.
We're committing our career services to
Depopulation was a crucial step in the agenda, as the Sustainable Development Goals had to be achieved. Green Marxism had successfully led the planet into panic that we would die from the lack of resources. They drove the story that global warming was to blame for some parts of the world to be unlivable conditions. They said they need to cut back the population.
Understand, everything he is saying is exactly what the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the US, with Bill Gates leading the way, depopulation. Sustainable Development Goals, that's the United Nations goal for 2030. They're saying the people of color all over the world, especially in the United States of America, especially in Africa, the European Western world is threatened by the populations of color where they don't have control. They control India. They control China. The British own India. The British own China. The British can never own the United States of America. And the British can never own Africa. And the moment that our people in the United States of America understand what the heir apparent means, understand what a presumptive heir means, and what the presumptive heir has done, meaning they've done a coup d'etat to take by force that which they can't supernaturally inherit. That is a divine violation, crime against divinity. The divine birthright says, be fruitful and multiply. So because they have rejected the invitation to include themselves in the divine birthright, they have chosen to rebel against it, to lead a revolution, a coup d'etat at their own peril. So when the divine birthright, when the divine command says, be fruitful and multiply, the whole world is in unison, saying, stop them from being fruitful. This is what a depopulation agenda is. And anybody who talks about depopulation, understand, if you cannot be controlled in their system, if you cannot be manipulated and programmed and brainwashed to blindly follow them, then you are the target.
A thinning, needing to reduce countries' populations by 5% every year. Extreme brutal measures were introduced, all in the name of saving the planet. Aimed mainly at the elderly, they targeted areas so the sleeping masses wouldn't believe the scandal. Pandemics became more normal. It became a continuous pattern to blaming people for the evil they created behind the scenes, resulting in divisions and infighting amongst us. They moved people into the cities and emptied rural areas, villages and small towns. Buildings became abandoned and left to ruin. Apparently this was to allow the greener areas to recultivate with wildlife and animals. But
all over the world, they're doing this right now. All over the world. All over the world. Haiti, they move everybody into the cities. China, they move everybody into the cities. Venezuela, they moved everybody into cities, and then they hit them with the poverty and destroyed their economy. Zimbabwe, everybody into the cities, hit them with poverty, destroyed their economy. China, same thing. Same thing to the U.S. Listen, they can't control you. They can't control you when you're spread out, when you're living off the land, when you're producing, when you're bringing forth crops and harvests, when you're not in their system, you're not dependent on them for food. You got your own water source. They can't control you. When they get you in the city, when they get you stacked all on top of each other, see, they don't have the numbers, y'all. This is why depopulation, they've never had the numbers, y'all. This is why they're threatened, because they know that if you stop listening to the propaganda about Europeans being a majority, understand they claiming that they are a majority when Europeans also claim all of North Africa to be Europeans. That's impossible. They claim Egypt and all of East Africa, a lot of East Africa. Egypt, they claim them as Europeans, yo. So because they know they've been lying about these numbers all the time, and they are a minority trying to control the masses who are a majority, they like, yo, we got to lessen their numbers before they figure it out and stamp us out. It's their turn. When you violate the natural laws like the Greeks and the Romans have violated for so long, you deserve to no longer exist. That is just the cycle, the unnatural cycle of unnatural lives. Mayans, Incas, Aztecs, they gone. They're gone. Jerusalem, Israel, gone. Gone. That is when you become unnatural, that's what happens. But see, they got these Africans now propping them up. Black Lives Matter to the Aryans. Black lives only matter to Aryans. These African, Black Moor, Black lives only matter to the Aryans, their offspring that they're propping up.
But the main aim was actually to centralise the people and get us all in one place. The cities became marshalled by police and military checkpoints set up. People were dragged along the narrative of the first pandemic until it was too late. They pushed disarmament priorities around the world, but it was only a way for smaller countries to surrender to the superstates, a peaceful war if you like. This disarmed the individual, taking away more individual rights, and still the military, police and security units had their weaponry. They knew they were creating a bloodbath. They had no remorse. compressing our freedoms, crushing us, psychologically breaking us down through fear, depression, anxiety, resulted in mass deaths on a daily basis. Without your ID card, you could not maneuver in society. Even getting food was difficult. My heart bled as this horror swallowed us, and we blindly walked into the jaws of hell. How did it come to this? This involved everybody, but the resistance was still weak. The majority felt powerless and trapped in the fear spell, almost waiting for someone to raise us out of this with heroic victory. The reality was, there was no one coming to save us. We had to do this together. Health and data became the way life was analysed, all controlled by algorithms. The system decided the trajectory of every single life, only judged by their inverted values. All freedoms removed. Even thoughts began to be erased. As if in a simulation, we were carried through their experiment with relative ease. The people that controlled it all were hugely successful behind their smokescreen, and we were under the illusion that they were just normal people like us. The fact was that they didn't even live the life we led. They saw it from their computers. They ate up the AI systems that fed them data. They decided the direction of the planet, but only because humans refused to trust their own guidance and denied their true connection. We let others steer our spiritual evolution and trapped ourselves within the false self. We had been carried on their ship for far too long and left to sink out at sea. Even some of the leaders who thought they would make it through were rejected. They only wanted people in their new world who would be controlled or dominated into submission. The AI system could only work this way. They know that humans can do unpredictable things, so they built the system to enforce laws with every possible outcome strengthening their power. However, there is a light. It is small, but we still have it. Their plan is still only in process. Intelligent people who think for themselves are dangerous to the central AI. Do you think for yourself? Do you trust yourself even when your views may be different from the masses? Ask the bigger question. How can you move through this world with integrity in every moment?
All right. So there's a specific figure who is the mastermind who calls all of the shots about climate change, about everything. And this is us against them. It is one specific individual who is calling the shots on a global level that every nation, kindred, tongue, and people bow down to every single thing. The population calling for a reset, making laws, enforcing laws, um, where is he at? Gonna say it right out of his mouth. Man, where is it at?
Paul VI Hall, where the Pope usually holds public events, Pope Francis received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer. He is expected to receive the second dose in 3 weeks. After receiving the vaccine doses, the Vatican launched the vaccination campaign. The Pope was one of the first people to receive the shot, but the moment was not caught on camera out of respect for his privacy. Benedict XVI's personal secretary, George Ganswein, assured that the Pope Emeritus would also receive the vaccine. The doses will be administered to all Vatican employees by medical personnel of the Directorate of Health and Hygiene. To store the vaccines, the Vatican acquired an ultra-low temperature freezer.
Who took the first dose of the vaccine from Pfizer? Pope Francis. Who launched the vaccine program? Pope Francis. So whose program is it? Whose program is it? Who took the first vaccine?
Speaker Harman Kardon audio.
Mr. President, I find it encouraging that you are proposing an initiative for reducing air pollution. Accepting the urgency, it seems clear to me also that climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation. When it comes to the care of our common home, we are living at a critical moment of history. We still have time to make the change needed to bring about a sustainable and integral development, for we know that things can change. Such change demands on our part a serious and responsible recognition not only of the kind of the world we may be leaving to our children, but also to the millions of people living under a system which has overlooked them. Our common home has been part of this group of the excluded, which cries out to heaven and which today powerfully strikes our homes our cities, our societies. To use a telling phrase of the Reverend Martin Luther King, we can say that we have defaulted on a promissory note, and now is the time to honor it. We know by faith that the Creator does not abandon us. He never forsakes His loving plan or repents of having created us. Humanity has the ability to work together in building our common home. Mr. President,
In this series, I'm gonna show y'all, and just like I'm telling y'all, you the 1-2 punch, your first fruit son is the alpha. The birthright son is the omega. The first fruit's daughter is the alpha. And the first birthright daughter is the omega. You got a 1-2 punch, sons and daughters. And every other son and daughter that comes after the first fruit, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, the Creator said, if the first batch is holy, if the first fruit is holy, the whole batch is holy. And I'm gonna show you that they got a counterfeit 1-2 punch. I started off showing you the Prince Charles, Prince of Egypt, Prince of Britain, of England. Is taking marching orders. See, they used to have church and state separate. So the Vatican is the church. That's the father. He would be the king of the apostasy, the Pope. And then his son, the state. England represents the state and does all of the dirty work. It's the underboss of the sun godfather. We're going to show you that they've been running bully mafioso tactics on the world. But it's one thing that you can't do to the first fruits. It's cause us to fear. It's one thing you can't do to first fruits. There ain't a mafioso, there ain't a gang, there ain't a army, there ain't a war. Never, you can never pump fear in the heart of the first fruits. So those two individuals, I'm gonna take my time and I'm gonna show you. You see, that was Obama was in office when he came on the scene, when the king of this apostasy came on the scene, Pope Francis. 2020 was in play in 2015 when he came to the United States of America. Y'all just was asleep. We was telling y'all then. But now we're gonna show y'all that the only thing you can do from here on out to prevent from ending up how that video showed you is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's golden rule time. When an imposter wants to claim your throne, when they don't have the proper birthright, you have to respond. First responders, you have to respond, you have to claim your father's inheritance. And you have to physically sow the seed, sow the first fruit seed. Because they're sowing seeds of deception. What our people's problem is, our people have let the imposters outwork, outclaim, outmaneuver, outinvest. You let the European who's claiming everything outbuild you, outwork you. It's unnatural. It's unnatural. Pope Francis can't speak for nothing over here. The British can't speak for nothing over here. Based off of what they say in their own Oxford University. Heir apparent, go put it in Google. Then look at presumptive heir. Heir apparent. So in this series, we're gonna invite y'all to join this wedding party. This is an exclusive club. First fruit. Listen, they chose to reject the invitation to join this family. The Europeans chose to shed blood instead of spread love. It's too late. They can't wash it clean. It's too late. They made their choice. It ain't no going back. This is an invitation to join this wedding feast. First fruit. First and last fruit. This is the Alpha and Omega. We're not caught up in race. We finishing the race. We're not contemplating a reset. They're not getting a do-over. They're getting erased. So the rest of our people out there who want to have lifestyle of the wealthiest and renowned, you gotta sow the seed of the first fruit. You gotta respond with every challenge. You have to meet every challenge with dominion. Every blow, you gotta give back double. No more running around here asking and begging and pleading for equality. It ain't no equality. All men ain't created equal. All men are not created equal. Cain and Abel was not equal to what God created in Adam and Eve. They weren't. They were inferior. All men are not created equal. And because of Cain's inferiority, because he didn't have the power and the physical stature and beauty that his parents had, he was jealous and envious. And it led him to kill his brother. All men are not created equal. You around here trying to fight for equality. How can a European give you equality when they rejected being grafted into the wedding feast, to the bridal party? They rejected being included in the family group. They rejected the upgrade. Instead of accepting the supernatural growth, investment, deposit, they chose to do unnatural, artificial, performance enhancing drugs, unnatural, artificial, Western, performance enhancing, which ain't enhanced nothing. Now, when our people is about to leave them behind, like the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans and all the other civilizations that have disappeared, now they want to reset. Now they want a do-over. Nah, ain't no do-overs. This this series is meant to get you to step up to the plate and do that which first fruits do, first and last fruits do. And when you do it, when you accept this challenge, when you accept this challenge, you'll reverse the damage. You will gain reparation. So what we're offering is an intervention and a rehabilitation for all of the damage that has been done. And when we intervene, that means we stop the damage. That means we take back control of every phase and aspect of our lives. And then the rehabilitation process begins. And as we begin to rebuild, we then make them pay back double for what they did. So that's episode 1. Come back. I'm just connect all of these dots, yo. Come back. Come back.